a lot of hate against foreigner drivers.
Why
Because you want me to use questions? They're just a dumb truck driver.
Hey, but you gotta remember, I'm in the industry. You're not.
Welcome to the Truck Stop Show. Today we're joined by Mike. My name is Sayed Ali. Mike, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So Mike has been in truck industry for about 2 decades now, and he'll tell us about this. Mike, so tell us, where does the journey start?
Wow, 2 decades sounds like a long time. Well, my grandfather was a truck driver. And my dad and his brothers, and my uncle, they drove truck their whole life. I've been around trucks since I was little, so I can still. I remember, anytime I could get in the truck with my dad, I would take that opportunity, even if it was, just going from like dropping his truck off at the shop and going up to his work. I think I would jump in the passenger seat, and I used to love doing that. So, yeah, I always was around his work at the time, and I actually played hockey on the weekends with his bosses. So they owned a small company, and so I got to know him that way. I was washing trucks there when I was in grade 7, and when I got out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what I didn't want to do, which was drive truck. But they just said, hey, while you try to figure it out, why don't you come, load trucks, load trailers. And so I worked in the yard there. Within a couple months, the guy I was loading trailers with, I think it was probably cold outside, and he didn't really feel like going out there to shunt trailers. So he said, you want to learn how to shunt trailers? And I took him up on that offer. And so before you know it, I was driving trailers around the yard, putting them in the dock, and kind of just doing everything around the yard. And then they said, well, you're already driving, so why don't you just go get your license, and then that way you can pick up at our local customers and do a lot more. So that's kind of how it started, and before you know it, it's 2 decades later, and I'm still in the industry.
So I know you don't drive anymore. So you are.
Yeah, I'm still in the transportation industry, but I'm, like you said, I work for looking after part of the business, which I love. I love helping people and still being around people that are in the industry.
So were you thrown into this title or this place you're at now? Because like once you start driving, it's not easy to quit.
Yeah, no, good question. It actually started. I went from driving long haul for probably 15 years. And I wanted to make the switch to local because, I've got 4 boys at home, 4 young boys at the time, and I was missing a lot being on the road. So I wanted to be home. So I switched to local driver, and very quickly after that, became a driver trainer. And so I was training new drivers that were starting at the company. And I loved just, being able to make an impact on the start of someone's career, and making sure that I play a role in setting them up for success at that company. And so I loved that. And from there, I moved into like training a larger group, and it just kind of progressed to where I am now. And yeah, I love it. I love what I do.
So do you miss driving at all?
Yeah, there's days that I miss things about driving. There's some, especially in the nice weather, you've got a longer trip, and you wake up in the morning. I used to have just my whole lineup of shows that I was going to listen to that day on the radio. And I don't know, you get to see parts of the country and North America that otherwise you might not see. And there was definitely things about it that I loved, the freedom of, nobody was looking over my shoulder. And, once you get that load, you're responsible for everything. And I really enjoyed that.
So, Mike, you did mention that you initially did not want to become a truck driver because it is the 3rd generation thing for you.
Yeah.
So you've seen your grandfather do it, you've seen your father do it, and you said you did not want to do it. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think it was tough. I mean, my dad drove long haul, like he was gone. And I think, being one of the only kids on the hockey team, that your dad's not up in the stands or your dad's not home for birthdays, that was tough. And, being a good dad or being a present dad was always super important to me. So having kids young, um, it was really important to me to be around and not miss the things that my dad missed out on.
So it's actually I want to know more about this. So one, you are a truck driver yourself, and you know how does it feel to be a truck driver. Then you were the son of a truck driver, but being the child of a truck driver, I personally believe too that it's not easy. It can be very tough. As you just mentioned, you were playing hockey and you did want your dad to be present there, but he was not. But now you're a dad yourself. Do you realize sometimes it's not their choice?
Yeah. And back then at the time, my mom didn't work growing up, so my dad was the only provider. And yeah, especially when I got into the industry and, sometimes I'd even run loads with him. We'd kind of be talking while we're on the road together and going similar places. And I definitely grew an appreciation for not just what he was able to provide us growing up, but just, I mean, he was the ultimate professional. I admired his professionalism a lot. So I think that's a great question. I definitely understood more as I got into the industry myself, and it's not easy. You get a mortgage or you've got kids and you've got to provide, and trucking's a good way to make an income and provide, but it also comes with some big sacrifices. So
Right. So your father was also the child of a truck driver. So what was his approach? Like, did you ever get a chance to have conversations with him? Like, did he want to be a truck driver when he was
yeah,
little?
I think so, and I don't know if you would agree, but I mean trucking was different back then. I find like the drivers took such pride in being a truck driver back then. Um, I mean, he owned his first truck at 17. I remember going to my grandparents and there would be truck die casts around the basement and the hats of the companies they worked for. Like they just were truck drivers. So I never got to have that conversation. I was never as close with my dad as I wanted to be.
Is it because of trucking?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, um, it's hard to build a relationship with your dad when they're not around. And he'd be home, he'd do his reset, and he'd be gone. Um, so I never got to ask those questions, but I could just tell that he took a lot of pride in being a truck driver. Um, Especially when I started working at the company that he worked for, and I could just tell the level of his truck was the cleanest truck. His logs was the neatest writing. Like he really took pride in being a truck driver.
And what kind of stuff he hauled?
Well, when he first got into driving, he drove household furniture, and so he'd be gone for a month at a time. Sometimes, load up locally around here and deliver out west, and you'd have multiple homes on the trailer at that time. So you'd take a couple homes out to BC, and then you'd kind of wait around and reload a couple homes slowly to come back this way. So he'd be gone for months, and so he ran household furniture for years and years, and then got into more just like van trailer work with a lot of like office furniture, like brand new office furniture, hotel furniture, which is kind of what I got into when I first started.
So are you like how many siblings you had?
Just one. I have an older sister.
Right. And was it tough on your mom, you believe, at this time? Like your father gone all the time as a truck driver? The reason I
Yeah.
ask this question is I really want to find out that if you only did trucking all your life, so sure, you took pride and all that, and then you're a great provider, and then you come home and all that, but what kind of stuff the family is going through? because that side is always ignored, right? So, for example, the wife, the children, like they have their own sacrifice that they're making, but sometimes it just goes not noticed, right?
Big time. I think I have a bigger appreciation for the sacrifice that my wife would have gone through. I'm sure it was difficult for my mom at times, but she didn't work, and she got to be present in mine and my sister's life, and she was a huge part of our life growing up. And but my wife, she also had a full-time job, and she had 4 kids, and so she's going to hockey practice and soccer practice, and I'm on the road, and it wasn't easy. And I definitely, you need someone that's strong and independent and is able to just lock things down at home while you're on the road.
Does it make so this struggle together, does it make your relationship strong or weak? It can work both ways, right?
Yeah, I think I can only talk for myself. I think it made our relationship strong. I appreciated everything that she did, and also just I think she knew that I was different than my dad in ways. Like, I wanted to be at home. I hated missing those things. I can remember, pleading with dispatchers to get home for birthdays, or just somehow to, what can I do that I can get home on a random Wednesday? I'll turn around and go back out first thing Thursday, but just like get me home. And maybe my dad did those same things. I don't know, but I know that my wife knows how bad I wanted to be at home. Our relationship was really strong. Like, I mean, she did amazing job raising the boys.
Which is not easy, I know that.
It's not easy at all.
Yeah. And that's good. So what did you want to be when you were little?
I have no idea, honestly. Sports is a big part of my life. I've always been, whether it's hockey, golf, football, but I think at an early age you realize that's not realistic. As good as you think you are, it takes something very special to go and make sports your profession. So the only thing I was really sure on is what I didn't want to do, which is ironic because it's the one thing I did end up doing, but I never really had a plan. I don't know. Life went really quick. I did enjoy growing up, playing sports, hanging out with friends, just, and then before you know it, you're graduating high school and you need to have a plan. And I didn't have things figured out, that's for sure.
And then do you remember having a conversation where you're like sitting with your friends or family and you're like, I don't want to be a truck driver when I grow up?
Oh,
or do you remember that thought process at all?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was from a very young age, just knowing that my dad was always gone. I always wanted to be a dad. Like, that's one thing I did know, that I wanted to have kids of my own and I wanted to be around. I wanted to play street hockey on the road with them. I wanted to play video games. I wanted to just be a part of their life. I had a couple really good buddies growing up that their dads were that kind of role model, and they were always around, and I loved hanging out with them and their dads and doing those things. So that's kind of what I was set on. I wanted to be a dad that was around and was there to provide for their kids, but also be a big part of their life. And as much as I say, I was gone, I wasn't. I was lucky enough that even when I did long haul, I was gone for maybe 5 days or, 2 days and back. So I did get home, which I'm thankful for. I wasn't gone for 2 weeks and then home for a couple days and gone again.
So what kind of hauling have you done?
Well, I actually, when I first started, I hauled office furniture, like brand new, which is pretty, like, I enjoyed it, but it also, most of the office furniture is going like downtown major cities. And I can still remember like the butterflies you get when you're coming in on the highway and you can see the skyline of the city and that you're about to be going down some one-way roads and some tight traffic. And so I just remember the butterflies I used to get when you could see the city. But it was also cool because I got to see a lot of major cities in North America that,
for example,
I mean, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston. I mean, you name it. I think I've been to probably every major city across the U.S. for sure.
Mm-hmm. And in Canada as well?
Yeah, for the most part in Canada. I mean, there's a few provinces I haven't been to, but yeah. And then after that, I got into household furniture for a little bit. The company that I started with, unfortunately, they went bankrupt, which is actually, it was funny at the time. My dad was in Mexico for vacation, and he owned his own truck. And I got home from just running locally on a Friday, and I walked into the office, and everybody looked like really sad. And I was like, "What's going on?" And they said, "That's it. The doors are closing tonight." They asked me to park a few trailers, back to back, because I think some people were coming to look for money. And just like that, it was closed. And picked my dad up from the airport a few days later, and I said, "I've got a couple pieces of bad news for you." And he's like, "What's that?" I said, "Well, the company went bankrupt and they're closed." And he's like, "Well, what else?" And I'm like, your truck got repoed." So, yeah, that was a bit of a shocker. And, luckily, trucking industry, you make some good relationships. And so,
your dad and yourself both worked in the same company at the time?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And
But he was the
my
owner
uncle
operator.
actually worked there as well.
Your mom?
My uncle.
Your uncle?
Yeah.
So your dad's brother?
My dad's brother, yeah. So 3 of us were both at the same company. That's where I started.
Right. And they owned the truck, but you did not?
My dad was an owner-operator.
Mhm.
My uncle was a company driver. And yeah, I was just a company driver.
Right. Okay. So then what? Where does the story go from there?
News travels quickly
Mhm.
that the company I was working for had closed its doors. So I got a phone call the next day from one of my old dispatchers, and they were at one of the large household furniture companies. And so they asked if I would come have a talk, and I went in and talked with them, and I wasn't really kicked on moving household. It's it's a lot of work. You're not on your own anymore. You've got a team of people that you work with that help you load the houses up. But sounded interesting. Sounded like something that maybe I'll try. So I started moving household furniture for a couple of years.
So so I personally do not know this field of work. So I can understand that there's household furniture that you deliver into houses.
Well, somebody's moving.
Okay.
And they've got a large house or they've got an apartment, and they don't really either have the friends or the vehicles to move themselves, or just the desire to move themselves because it's a lot of work. So they hire a moving company. And so we would go in with a tractor trailer and a crew, and you can offer all kinds of packages. You can pack for them, so you can put all their stuff in boxes for them and load it up, or you just take care of the moving parts. So you go in with a crew and you load their entire house onto a trailer and you take them to where they're moving to.
Right. And then you have multiple houses in the trailer at the same time?
Yeah. So if you're not doing it locally, like if you're going out west or you're going far away, it just makes more sense to, you got to see it. They pack these trailers like a puzzle, right? Like it's from floor to ceiling. It's actually like an art to load a trailer, and you get as much on as you can. So, if you have room, if you've got 20 feet of trailer left, that company will try to find, another small house or apartment that's going the same direction. And you'll try to load multiple homes on a trailer at the same time. And then you kind of schedule the deliveries to go out.
Mm-hmm. And what other type of hauling have you done?
After that, I went out west, and so this was only for a year, but I went and worked in the oil fields out in western Alberta, and I was doing fracking, so hauling frack units.
And what's that?
Pumps. So fracking, you've never heard of fracking?
I have heard. Just one for the audience.
Yeah. It's a good question. At the time I was just a driver, and I guess, geez, how do I explain fracking? So I hauled a frack pump which is like $1 million trailer, and you're driving in the bush off-roading to oil sites. I'm probably going to explain this wrong, so
It's okay.
I don't wanna
I don't have to be accurate. Just give us an idea. So let's say
I can see the comments now. This guy doesn't know shit about.
So this is done on oil fields, right?
Yeah, like a shell.
Where is this, in Alberta?
Yeah, Alberta.
And it's done on oil fields?
Yeah, like a Shell or the big oil companies and gas companies. They own the gas and oil underneath the ground, and they've got rigs set up, and
They're pulling stuff out?
they're pulling stuff out. But fracking is, first you got to drill the holes and open up the earth and put down all kinds of concoction down in the hole to open up the lines to keep them that way.
I like that explanation.
And then once we leave, then you can come in and you can get the oil out. But I was doing that. I only did it for a year. It was 21 days there and 13 home. So it was a long time to be gone.
And you went there for?
Went there for the money. Yeah, that's
big money.
It's good money for sure. Yeah, it's good money. It's good experience. Like if I had known about it when I was like 18, 19 and didn't have a family, I mean, what a gig. Like it would have been so cool to
How much you secured monthly? Give me a rough estimate and tell me the year.
So it would have been in jeez, man, I am so bad at.
Just give you like before 2015?
Yeah.
And after 2011?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good time frame. And how much you secured?
So the days you're there, so you're there 21 days, you're making $500 a day plus salary.
Okay, so at the end of the month, just for the understanding of the audience, that if like this is an option for it. So as you said, if I was 18 and known about this, I would have done it.
Yeah.
So just for the audience, I mean, let's say you don't have something big happening in your life and you are a truck driver, do this, make some quick big money.
Yeah. Well, so because you're on 3 weeks and then you're off for 13, your paychecks did fluctuate.
Correct.
So
yeah, just give an estimate. Yeah.
I mean, you're making good money.
10 grand?
Yeah.
A month?
Yeah.
Or more?
More.
Even more?
Yeah.
Only in 3 weeks?
I was like about as low as you could go, right? Like I was like a level as low as you could go, just entry level, driving a frac pump. And I mean, there's people that could become supervisors or operators. Like when we would actually get to the sites, my job was just going around with a fuel hose and fueling up all the trucks because they're running. You could be on site for 2 weeks and not actually doing any driving. You're just parked there. You sleep in a camp. You work 12-hour shifts. And my whole job would be to, sit in the truck, set an alarm for an hour. The alarm goes off. I get out. I fuel all the trucks with a partner and a firefighter. And then I jump back in the truck, set my alarm. So I wasn't, I was probably the highest paid fuel pumper
in Alberta.
Yeah. But a really good experience.
Yeah, no, that's good. So so you've done furniture, you've done this fracking thing, and then what else have you done?
I think the majority of my career has been in bulk commodities. So then I got into hauling bulk, chemical mainly. So chemical liquids and tanker, and that's been a large part of my career for sure.
So if you were to go back to trucking, which one you want to go back and do again?
Oh, that's good. Not household.
Because it involves lifting?
Yeah, I'd have to be in better shape to do household again. But probably for sure bulk commodities. I really enjoyed the hauling of chemical liquids and, hooking up hoses, and a little bit different than just backing up, open up your doors and back up to a dock. You're responsible for, getting that product off. So it was something interesting. every delivery and load is a little bit unique, and it keeps you on your toes.
Hmm. And Mike, so you're the third generation, and you got kids. You mentioned you have 4 boys. One day, one of your sons come up to you and says, "Hey, Dad, I think I want to get an AZ license." What's gonna happen?
Oh, that's a. I would say. Why'd you ask this question? This is a tough.
Have you processed this?
No, I
Is this the
think.
first time you got?
Yeah, honestly, this is the first time I've thought about that. I wouldn't want it for them.
No, but let's say he says, "Hey, you did it. Your father did it," because we all leave some sort of footprints, right? And the kid goes, "I want to do it because I think it's a family tradition. I should carry it."
For the record, I don't think they would. But if they did, I want to support anything they do in life. I'll be their biggest supporter. But I would encourage them to try something else.
So, in other words, you would be like, "I don't approve."
I don't even know if that's like saying approve or not approve is it doesn't sound like me. Like I don't think I would talk to them that way, because ultimately it's their choice. But I would heavily encourage them not to. I would have a lot of conversations about the stuff they don't see in trucking. I would talk to them about, if you do want to be a dad someday, this will be tough on that. And I don't think it was what it was back then. Like I think trucking's changed a lot.
Positive way or negative way?
I think it's changed in a negative way.
Give me a couple points.
I think traffic has changed a lot.
Agreed.
I think, the economy's changed a lot. I mean, the trucks have changed a lot. Like I don't even think it's as fun to drive a truck anymore. I think they're all automatic. They do it for you. A lot of the new trucks kind of take the driving out of your hands. It's a tough way to make a living, and I would encourage them not to.
So you think trucking was better, let's say 10, 15 years ago than it is now?
I do.
And that has to do with traffic. You did mention the technology is, you think technology is playing a negative role in trucking?
I mean, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of benefits to the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's take electronic logs.
Mhm.
I don't know where you stand on ELDs, but I think they have pros and cons for sure.
I personally see all pros.
All pros.
That's my opinion.
Okay. I think there's things that we haven't considered. So, for example, driver doesn't always have control of when their load is ready, right? We know that. I think
Correct.
depends on customer. It depends on a whole
Correct.
bunch of things.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm waiting on my load to be ready to go, and it ends up being late in the evening or in the afternoon, and I've got to deliver the next day at 7 a.m. to a customer. And as a driver, I mean, service to my customer is just as important to me as it is to the organization that I drive for. I want to service the customer. I take a lot of pride in that. But in order for me to be on time the next morning, because of the time that I left, I've got to sleep at the location. But why shouldn't I have the right to sleep at a well-lit truck stop that has access to a bathroom or a hot shower or a place for me to warm up a meal? I don't think I would be tired or putting anyone at risk by stopping at a truck stop 5 miles away and then waking up in the morning and driving to the location. But because of, having to take a reset or having to take the proper amount of sleeper berth, for me to be there at 7 a.m., I've got to sleep there. I don't think that's right.
My opinion is paper logs. were abused so badly.
Yep.
And I just can't wrap my head around this. People take pride in what they did. Oh, I ran too long. What are you like? You're breaking the law. Secondly, no human is superhuman. If you say I can drive for so many days without any sleep, I mean, like you're a human being at the end of the day. I mean, we all have capacities, right? And then I do not appreciate when people take pride in that stuff being outlaws and, just thinking that it's something brave to do.
I 100% agree. I think we have enough safety factors on the road nowadays with, distraction. I'm 100% on the same page with you that, running 2 logs or running 20 hours straight, not safe. I think my point would be, is there still things that we need to consider with ELDs that help the drivers?
Right. So, Mike, I want to go back to the point that we were talking about just now is the next generation. So in Canada, we have a huge thing happening, which is, well, it's always happening, which is immigration, right? So there's too many immigrant truck drivers on the road. So people who migrate to this country, they really want to establish themselves, right? And what's the fastest way to make money? I don't want to say easiest way to make money, but fastest way to make money. So, like what options do you have? You can go work in a factory. You can go work at a gas station or, like whatever the case may be. In some cases, these people are highly educated, but their education is not recognized here, right? So one good option they come up with is trucking. So they get into trucking. Now, a whole bunch of immigrants get a chance to get into trucking. One, there's a lot of demand for truck drivers, one. Secondly, because as you just mentioned, the locals or people who have been here for some generations, they don't want their next generation to get into this trade. So then there's a vacuum, right? There's a gap. And that gap is filled by newcomers in trucking. But then there's a massive stuff happening on an extreme negative scale on the social media and in real life and even on truck stops. You see stuff like that, right? How do you see all this? This whole transition or this whole, in a way, it's a problem, right? How do you see all this?
Well, I think there's a distraction problem. And so if there is a dominant culture in the profession, which I think we can agree that you said yourself, there's a lot of immigrants that are driving truck. And whether that's because it's easier, it's a good way of making money. The point is, they are the majority of truck drivers right now. And we have a distraction problem in all vehicles. But truck drivers, I mean, it's when a truck driver makes a mistake by being distracted, the results are a lot worse. I mean, they're all bad, but they can be catastrophic. So there's some negativity behind truck drivers right now. But in general, everybody on the road is distracted. You see it, I see it. So I think it's the timing of it right now. They happen to be the majority of the industry. And we're at a time in life right now where distraction's a big problem. So I think they're catching the heat for it.
No, but the question is, like one line question here is, so I don't agree to this term, the foreign drivers, because when somebody moves here and they decide to live in the country, they're not foreign anymore, right? Yep. So my question is, so newcomer drivers, are they actually unsafe as a whole, for the most part?
I think it's by the individual. I think there's probably a lot of great newcomer drivers. Are we setting them all up for success though? Any new driver that's driving a transport truck in this country, are they being set up for success? And that's not just the training they receive, but the company that they begin to work for. Are they being set up for success? I think that's the big question.
Do you think it's more on the company's shoulder or the training institute's shoulder?
I think it's a partnership, but it's definitely on the company.
I agree on this. Actually, I feel this way too.
Yeah.
I feel all companies have their own culture, right? So
They do.
if the culture is we don't do anything illegal and we don't do anything unsafe, I think majority of the drivers would abide by that. But if the company is like, oh, something is broken, it's okay, just take it, make sure you deliver the load, then things become different.
It's really tricky though, especially for smaller companies. Those operating margins are so small, and they've got to service the customers that they have, so they got to get the load there. I don't know if you've experienced it in your career, but I've had dispatchers push, try to get the load there, and they're being pushed from somebody else because those margins are so small. But the results are sometimes we're not setting new drivers up for success.
So here's a different question here. Is trucking a good trade to have a fine life? And, just in general, to run a house, raise kids, is it a good trade?
I think that you can get some good opportunities. Like, it depends where you land. It depends on, what you want in life. But there is opportunities to run locally or be home during the week if that's what you want. There's also opportunities to see the country and see North America. I think it's needed. I mean, I appreciate the industry big time. It's something that's really important to everybody's way of life. So I think there's still opportunity out there.
And is trucking getting better day by day, or is not getting?
Trucking's hard right now. Like in general, I think a lot of things are hard for everybody in the world that we're living in right now. But it's tricky. We're not in a great spot in the economy right now, and the trucking industry definitely is feeling the impacts of that.
Right. So, Mike, I'm sure you have tons of stories to share with us since you've driven for so long. What's the most favorite story you like to tell? Something you witnessed on the road, or something that happened to you, and something you still laugh about it?
Something that I still laugh about. It's kind of embarrassing, but I was I think it was either Pennsylvania or West Virginia, but I was coming home from a trip, and I got fuel at a Pilot. And I don't know if you know the Pilot, but I think a lot of people out there would know this specific Pilot. It's up on a hill. And so I was coming out of the Pilot.
I know the one you're talking about.
Do you? And I was, you got to make a left to go right back to the highway. And at this time I didn't have a GPS. Like, I was, 19 years old. I didn't, it was a bit different then. And I was probably the third one in line to get out of the Pilot, and a truck coming into the truck stop had ran out of gas. But they're essentially blocking the exit. Like, we couldn't get out. And a Pilot fuel truck pulled up beside me and said, he gave me the signal, like, make a right here. I know where I'm going, and I'll get you to where you need to go. So I followed him out of the parking lot, and he made a right. And we're going down this windy forest road. Like, I have no idea where I am. And he went so fast that I ended up losing him. Like, I didn't know where he was. And as soon as I come to the first town that I get to, I'm like, I'm just going to turn around because I have no idea where I am. So I made the first right that I could. And I ended up in like this retirement village that was not meant for a transport truck. And I get all the way to the end of the street, and there's people out on their front porch, like, looking at me like, what is this guy doing? And I get to the end of the road, and I can't make a right or left. Like, it's just too tight. So I start backing up, and I realize now that I've taken down like a cable line for like their television in this community center. So I get out and I didn't want to like completely rip this cable line that's like hanging across the road. And 10 minutes later, the fire department's there and they had to like back me out of this community village. And I actually didn't get a ticket. They were super nice to me, but it was probably the most embarrassing trucking story that I ever had. I just wanted to crawl in a hole.
Because that cable line is something very important to this retirement home, probably, right? They probably watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
You just come in there into their land and just break the thing, right?
Yeah.
So they probably didn't have TV for a while. So of course they were going to call the fire departments and whatnot. No, that's good. And something that happened to you on the road that you don't like talking about.
Oh, well, I witnessed a really bad accident one time that I don't think I'll ever forget. I still think about it to this day. I was headed, I think I was going to Texas, but I was still in Ontario. And I was headed for the Detroit border, and I was right near it's either a Pilot or a Flying J, about 30 minutes from maybe Tilbury.
Chatham area?
Yeah. And, it was pretty, like, there wasn't a lot of traffic on the road. And, I'm on the 401. And at this point, close to Windsor, there's no median in the middle of the highway. It's just about 30 yards of grass that separates east and west. And I was looking ahead and I seen a van just come across the wrong direction and went right underneath another tractor trailer and took actually the rear axles off the trailer and did a bunch of flips and ended up landing upside down in the grass. And I remember I pulled the air brakes, put my four ways on. I had a huge crowbar. I don't know what I thought I was going to do at the time, but I thought I'm going to save the day. And I get out and I run to the vehicle, and I remember just realizing that there's nothing that I can do. Like, this vehicle is so demolished. I don't know how graphic we want to be, but I still can visualize just seeing the hair and the grass, with the glass around it of people. And, a lot of people had stopped and there was just chaos. Like, nobody knew what to do. A police officer had arrived on the scene and people are saying, let's flip the vehicle. And this police officer just needed time to think. So I remember him like yelling everyone to shut up because he needed to think. And I remember as soon as I could, I just kind of quietly left and went to a truck stop as soon as I could. And I was quite shaken up. And the interesting thing, and I'll never forget this, my dispatcher ended up calling me because I was parked for 30 minutes. And they're like, you got to get going. And I told them the story. And the dispatcher said, you got to get going. And I'll never forget that. I thought, like, that is the most unsafe thing that I could have ever done, just to continue driving. I could not focus on the road. I thought about that accident for months. And the days afterwards, I remember checking my phone all the time to see if I could find out, did they survive? What was the cause of the accident? Like, there was multiple people in the vehicle. So I couldn't figure out, like, if someone fell asleep, why didn't someone else grab the steering wheel? It was very bizarre, and that stuck with me forever. So
Does stuff like this, when you witness on the road, does it make you a better driver?
I think so what makes you a better driver is experience and experiences. So you start realizing the older you get and the more driving experience you have that, hey, I need to work for a company that cares about my safety as much as I care about it. Because I want to go home safe, and I don't want to work for a company that doesn't care about my safety.
And And by saying this, you do say there are some companies that don't care for the drivers.
There's companies, again, I'll go back to the margins. There's companies that I'm sure they care about you, but like they need you to get the load there. And they might only have a couple large customers. And if you're not going to service them well, another company will. And it's a hard business. I think nowadays it's rare that you're going to, like back in the day, like it's rare that you're going to see a small startup trucking company. Like pretty soon it's going to be all dominated by large transportation companies, whether that's in bulk transportation or freight. It's all going to be large companies. I mean, insurance is more expensive and harder to get. And you need your customers. So I don't like to think that they don't care about you. I just think that they push the line, because that's a crazy concept, that being unsafe is more profitable, because this is actually not the case. If you have an accident, that's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, that's probably going to shut down the company.
Right.
That's ultimate risk.
But we take risks every single day as human beings. We take risks every single day. They're doing the exact same thing. They're just, it's you that are risking it for them.
You know what bothers me, Mike? The mindset. The mindset where people start thinking that I'm a very fine driver, and then, they'll mention 3 crazy things, crazy unlawful things they have done. And then they'll say, like, because I did these unsafe things and I made it out, I'm a very good driver. The mindset, that bothers me a lot.
It bothers me
as I get old.
It bothers me too. I think the thing that bothers me the most is when I'm driving on a highway, like maybe I'm taking my son to a hockey tournament and I see a truck doing 105 kilometers an hour 3 feet from somebody's bumper.
Yeah.
I know they think that they've gotten away with that for years and that they're a good driver, but there is no good outcome if something goes wrong. And it makes me so angry to see that you would just put other people at risk like that.
So how much, is there a mental health crisis among truck drivers?
I think there's a mental health crisis with everybody.
If you focus on the truck drivers, because one, they stay by themselves. Secondly, they have these problems that they can't almost handle. Well, there's a whole bunch of factors to this within the trucking industry. Pressure from the dispatchers. How do you deal with the dispatcher in the future, the one that is telling you to do something unsafe?
I feel good that goes away a little bit with the larger companies. And if I'm saying that we're going to end up with a lot of larger companies, I think we'll see that decrease a bit, right? Because larger companies will take safety as a bigger priority. But I don't know. I don't think I'm the right person to talk about, is there a mental health crisis with drivers? I think there's a lot of stress in the job. And one thing you end up having as a driver is just a lot of time to be in your own thoughts. But it can also be therapeutic at the same time. So I don't know if I feel strong to say that there's a mental health crisis with drivers.
What about the physical health? Do companies see? My opinion is here about the physical health. Lots of the companies, they use drivers. Of course they work for them and they get paid and all that. But a lot of the companies, I think, should put some sort of money into truck drivers' well-beings in terms of physical health and all that. But sometimes they just don't.
Yeah, sometimes companies don't. But it's not just the companies. You can go to a truck stop and you can get a cheeseburger for $2, but a salad's or a piece of chicken is $12. Like it's all around you as a driver. It's definitely challenging to have good physical health as a driver. I mean, I'm in no condition to talk.
But you look good. Trust me.
Don't
you look
flatter
good.
me.
You look good.
You're gonna make me blush.
No, when I say, a truck driver is not in good shape, you know exactly what I mean by this. They look tired, they look exhausted, they can't put a sentence together sometimes. Let me put it this way.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. Like, I know there's a lot of industries that put a lot of hours into their work, but this is one that, they're long days. Weather plays an impact. Like I can remember just the way I felt when I lay down at the end of the night to go to bed. I remember I could physically feel different in the wintertime than I did in the summer. Like if I had a long day of being just a bit more tense or watching for black ice or just on my toes a little bit more, like you do that over 10 hours, that weighs on you, and it has a toll. So I can remember being more physically exhausted in adverse weather than I did, when everything was dry and nice. But yeah, there's there's a lot that goes into their day, dealing with customers, dealing with dispatchers, dealing with other drivers on the road, weather. It's a lot.
Mike, I can have this go on for many hours because I'm enjoying this so much, and it's you that is making it more interesting. But we do have to wrap up. So before we go, I want you to mention a list of things a good driver can have
And when you say a good driver can have,
in terms of driving
as far as like things in life, or
as a whole. So let me rephrase the question here. My question is, what makes you a good truck driver?
I think the first thing that makes you a good truck driver is that safety is your top priority. And I don't say that lightly. You are driving a weapon that, in the blink of an eye, can change a whole lot of things for a whole lot of people. So take safety as your top priority. I think that have confidence and the courage to be able to say no, right? Like you are in control of the truck. If you're having if you're not feeling yourself, if you got something going on at home that's taking your mind away from the road, whatever it is that you got going on, like just know that no matter what, you can pull over. And so the drivers that can do that, I think that makes a good driver, someone that can speak up for themselves. And I know it's hard, especially for young drivers. Um, you want to make sure that you're doing good for your company, or that you got to make money, so you got to get to your customer. But to be a good driver, you got to know when you need to shut down, um, and enjoy it, and don't let the little things get to you, because it'll just add up. And th- there's no sense in being upset by what's happening around you. Those other people don't know. Like you're the one that has to live with the impacts of being upset because somebody pulled in front of you, or because somebody's going slower than you'd like them to. But if you let that weigh on you over time, like it just, stress is not good. So don't stress out about the little things. Have the courage to stand up for yourself and know that you're in control of the truck, and take safety as a top priority. And I think that's what makes a really good driver.
And Mike, what do you have to say to a person who thinks trucks are out there to cause problem? They're nasty, they're always bothering you, they're dangerous. People have extreme negative views about trucks, especially nowadays with social media.
I would say to those people that the the paint on the walls of your kid's school, everything that's in your home, the oxygen in hospitals, that all comes from a truck. And without them, we don't have the way of life that we do. They're out there for a long time. Show them some grace. And yeah, don't be so hard on them.
Do dispatchers lie?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. But they have a tough job too, right? Like everybody in the trucking industry has the same goals, and everybody's just trying to play their role. so it's important you make those connections with your dispatchers and drivers. Like, get to know each other. But yes, they have to say a few lies here and there.
The problem is nowadays, truck drivers don't have too many options of lying because they're satellite tracked and, like they sort of, they're exposed a lot. But the dispatchers on the other end, what's on their screen, no one knows but them. So there's a lot of things they can say or make up,
Very true. But again, at the end of the day, the driver holds the keys to the truck, right? And so at the end of the day, they make the ultimate decision. And if you're just genuinely a good person and you're not abusing it, drivers make the call. And if it's not safe to go, it's not safe to go. And you can only do what you can do. So, but you got to give them points for trying. Dispatchers got to do what they can to get the load there for sure.
True. And Mike, in the last, I want you to describe me a bad driver.
A bad driver is somebody that doesn't make safety a priority, somebody that tailgates, that actively will go out of their way to make life harder for other people on the road. Like, you've seen those drivers that, that there's just no way you're going to get in front of them. That you'll have a truck that is, 3 kilometers an hour faster than the other one, and they just won't give you a break to let you back over. A bad driver is somebody that is going to put other people at risk, is going to be distracted. I think that's the number one thing. And someone that just doesn't take pride in their job, that doesn't do pre-trips, that just cuts corners all the time. That's a bad driver, in my opinion.
Mike, I want to thank you. Thank you for watching the show, and we'll see you guys next Sunday.